Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, including but not limited to my latest Patreon, More Animals in Gas Chambers, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Melds 24, Unimento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Dale West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
What's up, Chief? Just chilling. At work. I've been on time every day this week. I'm pretty proud of myself.
You've been on concept.
Ain't that funny when you you work hard, you do good things for a company. You may not be perfect. And it's like, you want them to do stuff for you, and then they go, well, do you see how many times you've been late this year? It's like, are you kidding me right now?
Are we talking like 5 minutes late or 5 hours late?
Business, whatever, but at some point, especially the job that we do, it's so ridiculous. Like, there's no need for any kind of rigid schedule at all. It's just insane. But I guess according to the numbers that the corporate America are looking at, they're sweating because all this remote work they're doing is losing them productivity. That's what they say. So they're not happy about it.
Yeah, as a black man myself, I know what it's like to be late.
I identify as a black man. You know what I mean?
Did you say relate?
No, but we can hear his background hiss because he's still off mute.
I don't even see color. I'm colorblind, as they say.
What do you mean you don't see color?
I don't think they hear me.
They do hear you, don't they?
Is that refracted philosophy?
Oh, it's because I'm unmuting that line. It automatically mutes me when I join. There we go.
There
Matrix mutes me inside Matrix. I just have to remember not to leave myself on mute. It auto mutes you when you join. Anyway.
Good morning. We were saying good morning to you, but you can't hear us.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up? Good morning.
We're late, so corporate America, we're in trouble now.
Yeah, we're keeping track. That's what we're doing here. How you guys doing this fine Friday?
Very well.
I'm doing much better.
Was it a vacation or just
Yeah,
time
it was
away?
a golf trip. It was a golf trip with some golf buddies and spanned 9 days each day. Well, first day was just drive 9 hours. And then 9 hours back on the last day, and then sandwiched in between would be 7 days, and 6 days of that would be golf, sometimes two rounds a day. And on the first day, I pulled a vital muscle in my back on the 14th hole and couldn't play any more golf starting the first day.
Wow, is that back better yet?
Yeah, that's why I said I'm doing much better because I laid off it and took my medicine in the sense of making lemonade with the lemons I had to deal with. So I just iced it, got the inflammation down, and then 2 days after it happened, while they played golf, I putted and chipped. So my short game should be better.
Well, I guess you missed a little talk on elevation angles to Polaris and latitude and longitude lines. Right up your
I
alley,
only
bud.
caught I only caught one show during the whole time. So what was that the whole time? Was that topic?
No, just last couple of days, really. But I
Oh,
like
okay.
it a lot. It sounds great. It's great information.
Well, can't get away from what an angle is. Nathan, are you doing part 2? I just saw on Master D that there's a part 2 that
Part 2 of what?
Paul at LVA posted it. It's a master debaters. Now that I have stuff, but it sounds like you were on says part 2, or is that the show you did? FED 18. Hang on, FED 1878. Who started the part 2? So you don't have anything today, then?
I thought we were going to cover a parody that a guy did, but I selected it, and I've got to be honest, your selections tend to be better than mine.
Well, I have it if you want it. It's going to be once. It's 3 of them. One is 6 minutes 33 seconds long. The other one's 2 minutes 45 seconds long, and the last one's 3 minutes and 17 minutes long, and it has to do with Newton versus Einstein gravity.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah, I just posted it.
Okay, I'll pick it up when it comes through. It hasn't come through yet, but I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to finish the whole show with all 3 because they're not altogether. They're not that long. But next week, what I'll post, it'll take you a week to go through.
Okay. You say it's in Master B, and I saw you typing, but I don't know if you've just not pressed enter because it hasn't.
It's still that little circle's turning. It's not fully.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just
wait.
Well. It'll come through eventually, and I'll set it up when it does.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, we'll cover that. Great.
Perfect. So first one's going to be Neil deGrasse Tyson. It should go through now.
Yeah.
And the other 2 are on the same subject, but it's a good 3-parter.
So Einstein, you talked about Einstein. You talked about Newton. Newton was right, but Einstein had to fix his law, right? Like even Einstein. So that was an accepted. It was accepted, right? That I'm just.
You can save it for the show, or you get.
Okay.
I've got to level up. I've got to level its sound up.
Oh, I got you. Okay, go on.
So here's how that goes. So that's another aspect, a nuance of it that I'm glad you mentioned.
Okay.
So Isaac Newton, my man. Okay.
No, you're a fan.
Just to be clear.
What's that about there?
Yeah, sounds good. So anything interesting happened last 10, 11 days besides elevation angles to Polaris?
Not really. It's always exciting. I mean, it's one of those to rehash one of the old shows. Whoever was talking earlier about it was it the Hammer or was it just Bill? One or the other. But yeah, no one wants to summarize a week and a half's worth of shows for you. I don't know why.
I'll probably catch up to it eventually, but
You're here. I don't think it matters. You don't need to catch up.
well, it's very interesting that the begging the question has another whole side of the coin to it. So we address it as a fallacious reasoning, but the person in it isn't quite understanding that when we bring that to their attention. And then what happens is they'll ask either the same question or another question relating to it in another way after you show them that what they just did was fallacious logic, fallacious reasoning. Why am I going to even answer that? It doesn't make any sense. You got to prove what you're saying first. And I'm just running into this and I'm just dissecting everything, like a sales guy would. And I'm formulating something. I'm not ready to come up with it, but it really makes our job a lot easier because they do the straw man. They try to ask you the question normally. That's what it goes to where they gain control of the conversation and are asking the questions. But it's based on nothing that they've proven, if you follow what I'm saying. So wait a minute, you're asking me a question, but you haven't proven the R value yet.
Right. No, most of them, it's because it's a paradigm as opposed to a sales pitch for something that you're unaware of. If you're born into bondage, you accept it, and people just accept it carte blanche that it is a sphere from the outset. Well, that description is a begging the question fallacy. That's what I've just described. But for most people, it's like, no, it's not an assumption. We are on a sphere. That's how they believe.
Yeah, and then it goes to the next step. Well, what is the official claim of your sphere? Do you know it? But we know their claims.
Of course they don't know it.
Of course not. We know better than they do. So then when we feed it back to them, that's 3959 radius. And then we talk about Earth curve math. And then we talk about geometric horizon that must be physical in nature. It's blocking the bottoms of boats and buildings. You've been telling us this since the inception of this. It can't be anything else than that, can it? And they go, well, okay, well, I don't know those numbers. What are you trying to get at? Now they're scrambling because they just threw a bunch of stuff they didn't know that they should know.
Just so you're aware, I'm going to run the show today live until it crashes or doesn't crash, if you know what I mean. So that's
you're having issues again?
Yes and no. The servers that I've been using, I've added an extra one on to test it, and good in a way because it's pushed the limits of the machine and exposed the flaw, which is good because I'm not saying the shows are unimportant, but when there's a really important show going on for whatever reason that might be, you don't want it to potentially crash. So after the live show's done, what I have been doing typically is, although I didn't do it yesterday and it did crash, was get to the hour mark and say this would normally be the point that I'd round out, do a general thank you to you guys, thank you to the audience, and then carry on live. And then should obviously there be a hiccup for whatever reason, doesn't matter, there's already been an outro. It's like an extra bonus bit for anybody watching live.
Okay. Well, you've done it before, so I'm familiar with it.
Sure, but it's just unusual. It's bizarre that something like Matrix or Element, just adding that one extra server, has stressed the RAM to the point where it crashes the encoding of the stream on the software that I use, OBS. So the encoder just
that's
crashes.
So that's what it was.
Yeah, the system doesn't crash. The computer itself isn't. It's not. I mean, it could. It just depends what's accessing the memory. If the operating system happened to try and get a 1 back from the memory and it got a 0, then it would be a blue screen and it would die. But what's actually happening, which makes sense, is the thing that's accessing the memory the most is the most likely to encounter an error. So the encoder's the thing that's literally hammering the memory. But like I say, just having a bit more stress on the memory with an extra server and communication lines back and forth between all the other servers is enough to put that extra bit of strain on the memory. But since then, since yesterday at least, I've lowered the speed. I've done all 3 things that I can do to stabilize it, which is I've lowered the speed. I haven't actually, that's not true. I've tightened the timings, but lowered the speed and up the voltage.
When you say lower, hang on. When you say lower the speed, what do you exactly say?
Speed of the memory. How many transfers per second it can do.
Oh, you have control of that.
Yeah. Good job
So what's
too.
the low? What's the low and the high of that?
Well, the spec is 6,000 of the memory, but this the computer itself is very new. It's not. It's almost a year old, but the technology inside it is very new. So the memory is a new memory type, and the chip itself is a new type of chip. It's actually 2 chips, if not 3, all in one chip, and that it's all very new technology. Well, back in the day, if you got a stick of RAM that was rated for 1,000, you put it on, you turned it on, it ran at 1,000, and everyone was happy. Well, with this system, the stick's rated for 6,000. It won't even load. It literally won't even turn on at that speed. You turn it, it'll just crash the computer and it will go into a boot loop and it'll stay on a black screen. And you have to physically go into the motherboard and reset the motherboard. Or in the old days, it'd be take the CMOS battery out and then put it back in again and then start again.
Nathan.
Well, that was how it was from day one. And since then, I've slowly backed off the speed and upped the voltage for about 7 months, slowly
Nathan.
lowering it. Yeah, go on.
So when you say you okay, so when it was set to the max, the way it was made for 6,000, you found out at a startup at that ratio it would crash or do something. So you lowered the speed to say, for example,
58.
4,000.
5,800.
Okay, 58.
Yeah.
Okay, 58. And then what does the voltage got to do with it?
More voltage. The faster it goes, the more power it uses, the more voltage it needs. So the trade-off is that the more heat it produces. Now that is actually the main problem. So it's the design of the PC is to be quiet and at a cost of heat. So the thing gets very hot, but it stays very quiet. Well, with the new memory, that of all the things in the computer, that happens to be the most sensitive. This latest type of memory. I don't know why, just the way it is. But the same is true for the CPU. It runs too hot. It wants 250 watts of power. Forget the voltage, but just in raw power, it wants 250 plus watts. The system, the case, can cope with 150. So from day one, what I've had to do is kneecap the CPU, turn down the speed that runs to the point where it's coping with its own heat output. So that's down, everything's turned down to get it to cope. But then, by the same token, what I'm asking of it is the moon. I'm asking everything of it. Do everything.
I think Righteous is trying to get in, Nathan.
Go on, Righteous. I could hear him. But I was
Yeah,
in the
there's an
middle of
issue.
my-
You guys aren't being heard in Discord at all, and we can't hear you.
You can't hear me in Discord?
Yeah, we've been talking for a while there, and I'm like, we're wondering why aren't you piping up? So I came in here, and yeah, there's no sound.
Okay, that's a Discord issue then, because there's my light's flashing in Discord, so maybe I just need to drop and rejoin from Discord.
Oh, you might be back there now. I don't know. Let me check. Let me go to mic check. All right, mic check, mic check.
Can you guys hear us in Discord? My light's flashing.
I don't see your light flashing on my end.
You can't see it flashing when you're in there?
Yeah, disconnect and reconnect.
I'll just disconnect and reconnect, yeah.
Mic check.
Hold on, it's just connecting. Although it doesn't seem to... It's taking its sweet time. There we go. No, it's still saying connecting. Check. Yeah, looks like I've got a Discord issue today.
Well, hold on. I'll just change a region. Give me a sec.
Can anybody hear us in Discord?
I should be able to hear you. I'm in both areas, and I can't hear you.
Okay.
So let me change it from automatic to, I don't know, Rotterdam. Let's try that.
Well,
All right, I changed
tell
the
me when you
region.
want me to rejoin.
Say that again.
Tell me when you want me to rejoin.
Rejoin now.
Voice connected, it says.
Yeah,
Hear us
you're
in-
good now. You're in.
Okay. Can you hear us? Everyone else in Discord? Rarely Criterion's about to say.
Yes.
Well, I can hear you.
Good. I know, but I just want to be polite, righteous. I know you've done the technical do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the case was, you were on the case at 150 and runs at hot at 250.
It just cooks itself. Stock. If I just reset if I just press the CMOS reset button and just, because that was what Arwin said, just set it to stock. Well, then it will definitely overheat. It's all turned down, basically, is the point. So then when you'd get it to do something demanding, it struggles, or it overheats and turns itself down even more. But that isn't causing it to crash. It's the memory. Anyway.
So the memory, can you up the memory? What's the highest memory you can get?
I've already got as good as it gets. Paul suggested that. It was like, would it help if I got you 2 sticks of 64 gig? I was like, well, yes, strictly speaking, it would help. But on the other hand, I've already got 6,000 memory. It's as good as it can get. It's really good memory. There's nothing wrong with the memory. And it feels wasteful. If I'd have just took him up on his offer and gone, yeah, just send me 2 sticks instead of 4. Like, number one, I feel extremely ungrateful to do that. Number two, it seems extremely wasteful. And number three, I don't want to. I don't want to take the back of the PC apart when one of the issues is that it doesn't seem to go back together in a way that keeps itself cool because it doesn't attach itself to the plate properly. The back of the cooler doesn't attach itself to the motherboard properly. And if I change the memory and it just happens to not go back together correctly, then it's back and forth to the shop with no shows. Sod that. I'd rather tinker with it. And at the moment, it's at the point where I can run everything for an hour and a half on a live stream with a 2.5-hour video, and then it craps out. So it's so close to being stable, and the computer's not crashing. Just one piece of software that's heavily memory dependent. That's one aspect of it failing. So you're like, I'm so close to it being stable. If I chuck 2 sticks of memory, and I'd still have to learn them anyway, it's not going to suddenly make the memory controller or the platform change. So I'm still going to have to learn them. Now, it might be easier, but yeah, ideally, from day one, it'd have had 2 sticks of 64 instead of 4 sticks of 32.
Gotcha.
Anyway, it's so close to being stable, and the memory is so far from spec now. It's almost at 5,000, and it's got so much voltage going into it. It's got 1.37 volts going into it. Well, at 1.38, it's on the limit of heat stability. It gets up to 80 degrees then. See? Well, memory, max, absolute max before it shits the bed is 85. Too hot is 80. Anything below 80 is fine. So at 1.38 volts, it starts to hit 80 degrees. So it's getting too hot. Well, it can have memory instability, not because it's unstable through lack of voltage or too fast, but because it's too hot then. So every time I hit 1.39 volts, I'm like, I know it's going to overheat. I'm just going to have to turn it down. So I'm going through this never-ending, declining, circling process. And as I've probably said on another show, I watch a guy build a computer builder and overclocker called Buildzoid. And he's got the exact same frustration as I have, which is you can tinker with it, test it for hours, if not days. And then it all seems perfect. And then after like a 16-hour run of a particular testing suite, it'll come back with one error out of 26 billion processes. Well, one error means it's not stable. Because if that error comes back to the encoder while it's encoding the show, the encoder stops working. You only need one error and the thing stops. That's it. It's broken.
What's interesting is that if you have 4 sticks of 32 or 2 sticks of 64, let's just say either one, what I'm hearing you say is that when the computer needs to go faster, it requires more power. But those memory sticks are supposed to work with a stock amount of power. What are they rated at when they're sold at 64 gig? Are they saying in order to get the full capacity of this memory, you got to up voltage, or is this something you've noticed?
It's something that me and anybody else using this platform's noticed, but just the process that you just type in to get the memory to work, which is in Intel's vernacular XMP. Typically, you just turn it on, set it to the rated memory speed, and then you just off you go. The problem is that there's three things that can affect stability of memory. God, this is going to get complicated quickly. One is rank, one is speed, and one is capacity. If you increase any of those, then it's harder on the memory controller that's deciding what goes to what memory. Yeah.
What was the first one? I got speed and capacity. What was the first one?
Rank.
What's rank?
Rank is, how can I explain rank? If you imagine that
Order.
if you had two sticks that were 64 gig, so each stick's 32 gig, yeah, it could be that on one side of the stick you've got 16 gig, and on the other side of the stick you've got 16 gig. It's not quite this simplistic, but they're in many ways like separate channels. It's like having two channels on one stick. Well, they'd call that dual rank, which means that you've got two sticks, but 4 ranks. Like having 2 boxes, each with 2 shelves. That make sense? So you've got 2 boxes with no shelves, you can just chuck things in the boxes randomly. Or you've got 2 boxes with 2 shelves in, so you can organise it a little bit easier. Well, having that extra organisation makes it more taxing. So rank, more ranks, you can only go up to dual rank, but single rank's easier to run than dual rank. Next is capacity, 64 gigs harder to run than 32. And next is speed, 6,000 harder to run than 5,000. All of that requires more voltage. More rank, more voltage. More speed, more voltage. More capacity, more voltage.
Good testing then. We're happy.
Yeah, I'm boring the tits off everybody listening. I know I am, Adam.
I've only just got here, so it's all right. I'm going to have 10 for back golf. Not to see you back, brother.
Yeah, well, don't ask about golf. Ask about healing.
Well, is that what it was?
I sneezed, and that sneeze was all it needed. It was already strained, and I took 4 days off before the trip because I knew I strained it. And so I said, well, I've paid for this trip. I got to go. So I took the TENS machine with me just in case. And then sure enough, I sneezed on the 14th hole and I just fell over crying. It was so painful. Tears I couldn't stop. It was like someone stuck a knife and twisted it in that rhumboid muscle underneath the scapula and the right shoulder.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. And there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, The Adam Meakin, Righteous Force, 10th Man Rising, no Neil. A whole bunch of people in Matrix and Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
That sounded like genuine concern, that, Nathan. No Neil, which is odd.
Odd that
Where are you, Neil?
Odd that there's no Neil, or odd that I'm concerned about him?
Wow. Odd that there's no Neil.
Neil's our everyman. So when I listen back to the show, it amuses me because in the moment, often Neil irritates me. I'm not going to lie. That's just how it is. However, when I listen back to the show, most of what he says represents what General Joe audience members are going to be thinking while they watch. And he's expressing it. So his irritation, his annoyance when there's something that's being covered that really shouldn't be, it is all representative of the audience. So Neil has my utmost respect in terms of his the point of him being here on the panel. I don't know how to better phrase that. His place here, that's the one. His place here on the panel is important, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway. Any evidence scientific?
Still not here.
Go on.
Hello?
Hello,
Does my
Arwen.
sound good?
Hi, Arwen.
You do sound
Hello.
good, actually, Arwen. Why?
Oh, cool.
Everyone sounds great. Anyway, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, first, you got to define it. Just because an apple falls from a tree or you drop your phone, you can't make up some story about it.
Independent variable distance
Distance?
and mass, however that's defined, attracting each other.
I mean, you can...
Attracting.
Wait, hold on. Independent variable distance. Well, hold on. So you're at step 2 in the formulation of hypothesis, but you're only offering an independent variable. This means nothing, Arwen. What are you doing? What's
I'm
that
just
mean?
immediately shooting myself in the foot.
Okay, so you're talking about a universal downforce, which we don't experience at all because we see things go up, we see things go down. Where's this universal downforce?
There isn't one. Stuff isn't universally going down. It's a crazy notion.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know, but they have to have it if you live on a globe that's spinning in the second law of thermodynamics violation, outer space, gas pressure next to it. I mean, they got so many problems if you just think about it.
Yeah, but not really, though, because when the gas goes up far enough, eventually it will lose its energy. It will just slow down and then turn around.
I thought it goes until it hits something else.
What will cause it to lose its energy?
Just like that. It's just like, oh man, I'm too far away.
Can you
So
drag this
I'm just
conversation
getting
out?
depressed. I'm homesick. I need to get back, go down, go boom, boom.
Good. Can you
Apathy was
just one sec, drag this conversation out for a couple of minutes? I'm just going to go and grab a Coke.
Quick line, and then he'll be back.
What a transition. Go on, Adam.
No, it's apathy, homesickness. They're the issues that gas particles turn around and come back.
Right. It's
Last
just
you
like
come-
moving away from your home. Like, I'm on an adventure. And then I'm like, wait, I don't want to go that far away from home.
So,
Oh,
Arwen, you're saying
Then
gas
slow down,
pressure.
hesitate, and then like, oh no, I got to go back.
So you're saying gas pressure is like a dog. Lassie, come home.
Well, Lassie
and
come home
their
on a
idea-
bungee rope.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. In their idea, wouldn't it go? It would be falling down as it goes up, traveling relative to its position on a spinning Earth, and violating all natural gas laws.
Well, if you say it like that, it sounds a little bit convoluted.
Sounds like nonsense. Any single viable
Also going to achieve
hypothesis?
zero kinetic energy, and then start to receive positive energy as it comes back. It's going to achieve a state that we cannot simulate on the Earth. We can't get to absolute zero, but fundamentally within their claim, that is a prerequisite the kinetic energy's got to run out and then be charged back up in the opposite direction by gravity. That is fundamentally their molecular claim.
Yeah,
Well,
but
no, they
Adam,
can't claim that. They can't claim that and claim.
1 second. Did you just say when did they claim that, John?
No, I said they can't claim that because if they try to, then how is the atmosphere moving like Velcro with the Earth as it spins? That doesn't make sense. It's not absolute zero then.
That's a separate answer for a separate time, and you don't mix the two answers because then the contradictions will become apparent.
Don't give
so
them
one
help.
question at a time for them. Yeah, you're right, John.
What I mean by
Yeah,
that
but
is
Adam-
don't give the opponents help. So you're saying don't confuse these two conversations if you're a globe earther, because they're different answers to different problems on different days. Therefore, don't mix them and you won't have an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's 108-year-old out-of-date stuff they're talking about to begin with.
Morning, guys.
Hey, Chaco.
Hey, welcome back, Tim.
No,
Yeah,
thank
welcome
you.
back. I wanted to say that.
Well,
How was
that's a
the
pun.
tournament?
My back is welcomed. Yes, it's back.
I hope your back's still good.
Well, you're welcome. My back. I'm back. Yes, it's better.
50 people watching. Please share the show. Smash the share button. Thanks to all of you who've done so already.
You forgot your woohoo.
Woo!
Can anybody show a force overcoming gas trying to fill available volume?
No. The law of nature. It wouldn't be a law of nature if that was the case. If I could say, yeah, I can show that violation of a law of nature, well, then the law of nature wouldn't be a law of nature.
So when they say gas needs a force to be contained, that's false, obviously.
Well, I was just about to get to that. We need to start pegging down what are globe Earth claims in regards to gravity. Because I thought you'd asked earlier, who's actually claiming that gas goes up? I mean, I appreciate that we've literally seen this from YouTubers who've shown their models where they show a gas going up to the top of a column and then coming back down again. But Adam's just described that, right? In literal terms, for that to be the case, it would be at the top of its arc at zero, at absolute zero. It's lost all kinetic energy. And as Adam's just described it, although I hadn't actually considered this aspect of it, Adam, it's then having to violate the first law, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's having to instill energy back into itself from a non-force. That's gravity.
Yeah, from a non-force force. So basically, yeah, by going down some geodesic, it's now gaining kinetic energy would be their current explanation.
First law of thermodynamics violation.
Yeah.
Wow, I hadn't thought of that. That's nuts. But either way, so given that it is a second law and a first law of thermodynamics violation in this regard, but their description, if they ever were to use it, anti-flat earthers are the ones that put this to us. So where in the globe rhetoric does it say gas goes up in an arc and then gets pulled back down with gravity, having traversed absolute zero at the top of the arc and having violated the first law of thermodynamics on the way back down with a non-force force pulling it in and reducing energy when it's not a force? So where's that actually documented as their claim, if at all?
It's not. But their claim would be in Einsteinian is that the gas continues in a straight path. Space-time bends to make it seem like it's falling back down, but it's not actually falling. It just followed a straight path in space-time.
So it's just literally amounting to absolutely nothing.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what John's saying. I mean, I thought I had a reasonable handle on this stuff, but it's not since when he's trying. Is there anywhere where there's a description of gas behavior within geodesics bent in space-time? Is that something accessible?
I don't think so. Nope. Never heard any mention of materials in general in relation to space-time, ever.
Oh, let's try this. Okay, so I say gas fills space, not because it's a claim I'm making, but because it's a law of nature. There's the citation. It's not even needed, right? Second law of thermodynamics, if you want a reference. Okay, there's my evidence, not that it's required. Okay? Their claim, as we're currently discussing it, apparently is gas go down, go boom, boom. Okay? Where's that documented? I want to see that as a claim. Who's claiming it? Now, if you say, "Oh, well, Simon Dan on YouTube," I don't care. No. Where's this written into the academia of heliocentrism, as opposed to some numpty who's just made it up because it's a necessity as a result of the outcome of some of their quote unquote theories. But that extrapolation coming from I'm nearly there. That extrapolation that's coming from anti-flat earthers is just that. It's an extrapolation. It's a consequence of a flawed idea. But their dissemination of that consequence isn't showing us it in the rhetoric as being so in the rhetoric. That's what I want. Sorry, Arwin, go ahead.
That's correct. No, but you're absolutely correct, because it never got to that point. Like, when there was going to be further development about how does that work with Newtonian mechanics? Oh, well, gas go down, go boom, boom. Well, that never became official. That's when they said, yeah, this is all bunk. But the problem is that people's minds didn't get it, and they developed it. So it's like this colloquial rumor. Gas go down, go boom, boom is a colloquial rumor that just won't let go. It was never official.
I'll add to this conversation. They say it's weight because of the different layers of gas. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, but that weight would be with the force of gravity. That isn't the current claim.
Yeah, that's what's taught in high school. What 10th is saying is when you get the rudimentary description of gas go down, go boom, boom, it's the homogeneous layers of gases that are above whatever's being described with buoyancy going up. So it's in answer at a high school level with Newtonian gravity to why does the balloon go up? Well, the gas around it is going down. You have these homogeneous layers of gases, and then you have all the different spheres that they're going to describe when they beg the question of gas not filling space. However, as John's just pointed out, that's a Newtonian idea taught to high school kids, as opposed to a bent geodesic in space-time with the gas appearing to be travelling out in all directions because it's an anisotropic inhomogeneous mixture, but appearing to be layered. That is not the current rhetoric.
It was never the official rhetoric.
So where can we see it? Where can we get this that isn't from a Simon Dan or a Dave McKeegan or a whoever? Where's it official?
You want. It's been passed from person to person, ignoring the official claims about it, right? That it is no longer viable. It's just a rumor that's been very popular and that way kept hanging around.
Well, I even have a citation that says pretty much the exact opposite. Let me read that off real quick.
Yes, please.
This is from whatis.com. Second paragraph. A gas has no fixed shape or volume. The atoms or molecules that make up the gas fill the container that holds them. The gas expands until it is uniformly distributed throughout the container, even in the presence of gravity. If not confined to a container, a gas disperses into space. End quote.
Gas disperses into space.
Yeah, I posted.
Yeah,
gas. You want me to share that?
Yes, please. So gas disperses into space at the end of the citation in regards to gas behaviour. Well, there's nothing else to say. Gas fills space, and you fundies on the globe side of this discussion think that there's an area of volume called space above our heads, with gas not filling it.
Nathan, today's video review of the 3 short videos might enlighten us then.
Okay, so we're starting a few seconds into this. This is Tyson on stage discussing Newtonian gravity.
Because he discovered the laws of optics and the laws of motion and the laws of gravity and
the laws of motion of Newton were not right. End quote. Richard Feynman.
Like practically on a dare, he invents integral and differential calculus. Then he turned 26. Okay? So are we done here with that? Are we?
We could cover the fact that he almost begged to not have gravity ascribed to him. You know, it almost seems rude that you're talking about him in these contexts, given that he explicitly begged to not have this nonsense ascribed to his name. It's amazing, that, isn't it? Disrespectful. Very disrespectful, Mr. deGrasse Tyson.
Do I have agreement here? All right. So he comes up with his laws of motion and laws of gravity, and they apply to everything he.
The laws of motion of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman. Further to that, this idea that he didn't want ascribing to him, that would be Reverend John Michell, C.V. Boys and Cavendish gravity, has been superseded 108 years ago by bending geodesics in space-time, something that Tyson talks about. So he's just lying to everybody in the audience when it comes to anything he talks about, when it comes to Newton.
He had ever seen or measured. Although the fastest anyone had ever moved might have been a galloping horse in his day. But it explained the moon going around the Earth and the Earth going around the sun. And it would later explain Jupiter's moons going around Jupiter. So it wasn't just...
It doesn't explain anything. Postulations and ideas about what could be aren't explanations. The scientific method, however, explains the cause of effects you observe. In the case of lights in the sky, these are effects he's observing. But he's describing explanations for them? No, there's presuppositions about what they are, with mathematical conjurings about how they are described to be behaving in maths. It's not explaining anything. It's just a liar.
The law of things that went around the sun. It appeared to be kind of...
That's Kepler's law. What? What is he talking about? The laws of motion in regards to Kepler?
Universal, in the literal use of that term, as opposed to how that word is used so often in our culture. Miss Universe. She's Miss Earth, please. All right? Okay? Chef.
Okay.
So what we later learn, as our methods and tools become more and more precise.
Sorry, why are we now talking about how things have evolved, metaphorically speaking, because of precision tools, when he already had, quote, explanations for it? So they were just wrong. Yeah, invalidated by modern technology.
I have to slip something in. Can I slip something? Okay, so watch what happens. So we apply Newton's laws, and...
The laws of motion of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman.
And we apply them to... William Herschel discovers planet Uranus by accident. Okay, Uranus is the planet just beyond Saturn. So by accident. And this is after Newton's laws of gravity are published. So now we're tracking the orbit of Uranus. You should know, this is...
Orbits are begging the question fallacy. Number one, there is no orbit. This notion of things falling around spherical objects in the sky that we observe traversing above our heads. Yeah? The idea that the moon falls around us and goes beneath us. This is a nonsense begging the question fallacy. Yeah? The fact that he's now pointing out that people just spot lights in the sky that they hadn't seen before and then give them a name. Yeah, astronaming, astronomy. That's what these people actually are. They just ascribe lights names. That's all they do.
It's not following Newton's laws.
Oh, so they weren't right? Oh, well, you know.
It's got some deviation. So
it wasn't right. So these explanations weren't right.
Maybe we found the limits, the distance limit over which Newton's laws would apply.
But distance was ascribed by way of assuming that Venus had the same R value as Earth, as a sphere, and then using Kepler. I've already covered this. This is Kepler. Yeah, when you say distance, that's going to come from Kepler and an assumption that Venus has the same size radius in a heliocentric model as Earth. Nonsense. These distances that you're going to infer, they're not measured. You're just talking out your ass. This is nonsense. Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, I'm way too sober in the morning for Tyson. Yeah, I feel your pain. Can you move the show later in the day so I can get high first? Maybe then it'll make sense. Yeah, I know your pain. I can feel your pain, but it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. I'm definitely on enough crack to be dealing with Tyson.
That'd be interesting.
Thanks for the super chat.
But other people said that Newton was so badass, it must work, okay? Even there.
Oh, right. So even back then, 108 years ago, there was people who were in denial when they were shown to be wrong. Yeah, we experienced that today. It's amazing. 108 years ago, we had people that would deny the fact that it was wrong, and now we still do. Isn't that amazing?
So
How was
instead of
Newton badass?
Bad as
Why
in
was he
wrong.
so
It's
I
badass?
think he's being literal.
because at the beginning he says that's his man, that's his hero, that's Tyson's hero is Newton.
Okay. Well, I
That's
like
the point.
Newton, but I mean, only because he said it's ridiculous if you're going to claim that gravitation is science. I mean, that made me really respect Newton.
Well, what he's doing here is instead of saying what Feynman said about Newton's laws of motion, what he does, because it's his hero, says, well, they're right, except there is a distance limit to those laws. Like, where did he pull that one out of?
Oh, because of course, distance. Because when you get to outer space, it all works different now.
No. In terms of his description of having a distance problem, no, it's got a dimension problem, right? There's no fourth dimension in Newtonian gravity. It's three-dimensional. These things exist in completely different geometries. So it's not like it's a little problem. It's not like it's got a bit of a distance issue. Yeah, it's a completely different geometry. So, no, Tyson, just no. You're not going to convert pseudo 4 space into Euclidean 3 space. It's not possible. So they'll never work. That's it.
But people have claimed that they have that is very possible. Remember, Fight the Flat Earth recently said that. Like it is.
Just choke on my own spit. Excuse me? Let me get it straight. Fight the Flat Earth thinks he can convert pseudo 4 space into Euclidean 3 space.
Yes, I've heard him
I'd
say
like
that.
to see that.
But he wasn't actually capable of demonstrating it, but he's very
can't be done.
capable of claiming it.
Okay. Oh, he's capable of claiming it. Oh, I see. He's capable of claiming it. Yeah. Yeah, can't be done. There is no fourth dimension in Newtonian maths. There isn't one. How's he going to do it?
It's interesting that Feynman.
Yeah, he said there was a document with 10 points that breaks Einstein's theory down into Newtonians. But he didn't provide it, but he said there is a document that explains
it. Yeah, exactly. He said that.
Okay,
it's interesting
let's see it. Hold on. If this has fallen by the wayside because whoever asked and got essentially a hand wave dismissal and lie, well, I'd like to see that document, please. You think that fourth dimensions can be converted into 3 dimensions in some sort of formula? Okay, let's see it.
Why would he not provide that document? Why wouldn't that be on hand if you're claiming that it exists? How do you use it as proof and just say, well, it's out there somewhere?
All right.
Speaking of which, the citation I posted, it's in Master D.
Thanks. So I can call it right now before anything occurs. Craig's a liar. It cannot be done. You can't convert a 3-dimensional system into you can't convert 3D systems into 4D space-time dimension. It cannot be done. He's a liar.
Well, they're actually claiming that the 4th dimension can be broken down to the 3rd dimension. And there is a document, but it doesn't use formulas to do it. It uses semantics,
right,
and playing with the meaning of words. It's not